Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Here, I'm not able to figure out. My mobile is not connected, but still there is a call. Thank you very much for joining. Sorry, I admitted everyone, but I was just about to admit you. So much for joining. Please begin your case.
No worries. Jai, Hare Krishna. So, of course, welcome. Let's see, everybody's here. We good? Okay. We good to begin, yeah? Okay. So, welcome to another Vaishnava Acarya Ekadashi series. Always, always, always the biggest pleasure to be here. To have the ability to serve all the Vaishnavas on Ekadashi Day is one of the best blessings that I could have. So thank you. And thank you for bearing with me, for being here with me, for lending your blessings, your prayers, your encouragement, your support. As always, before we get into our Acharya of the day, we will start with our Mangalacharna. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. So today our Acharya is Raghunandana Thakura, who I've wanted to speak about for, I feel like, over a month, but I kept looking at the calendar and going, okay, not yet. And finally, his appearance day occurred on Vasant Panchami. So now we have the ability to speak about him. He was incredibly important within Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Over the past few weeks, days, the topic of faith has been coming up a lot. Seems like every time I turn around, it's faith, so much faith. And Raghunandana Thakura was such an example of that faith. And he was such an example of what miracles can occur when our faith is strong and unflinching. So, Raghunandana Thakura was one of several Srikandavasis. He was born in a place called Srikanda. Now, we've spoken about Srikanda before. If you have been a part of these Vaishnavacharya Sanghas, we spoke about Narahari Sarkar. And we've spoken about him several times. Great biographer, author of Bhakti Ratnakar. And he is the uncle of Raghunandana Thakura. Raghunandana Thakura's father was Mukunda Das. So we have Mukunda Das Sarkar, we have Narahari, and then we have Sri Raghunandana Thakura. So the three of them were really important Srikandavasis. And they're written as such within Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. And they are introduced to Mahaprabhu as such. And they're introduced several times, but Mahaprabhu gets great joy out of meeting them. Mukunda Das was a physician, and he was such a good physician that he was considered the physician to the king at the time. And so he would go and prescribe all kinds of medicines for the king. He would be able to take his pulse, make sure that everything was working in fine order. But Mukunda Das was such an incredible devotee, such a stalwart lover of Sri Krishna. At one time, the king was sitting upon his throne, and Mukunda Das was there, and he was advising the king on very many different Ayurvedic medicines and such. And the king was being fanned with a peacock fan. And upon seeing this peacock fan, Mukunda Das was so reminded of Krishna that he went completely into ecstasy. Bodily hair standing on end, he was producing all of the symptoms of ecstasy, and he faints. The king himself gets down off of the throne and immediately goes to pick up Mukunda Das. And he says, "Is everything all right? What happened?" He fears that he's in danger. He says, "How can I help you? Is there anything wrong?" And Mukunda Das, feeling a little embarrassed about his public display of ecstasy, he says, "I'm fine. I suffer from a very unique form of epilepsy. Don't worry, I'll be okay." But the king himself kind of understands that this is not a very normal, usual personality. And so he has it in his mind that this must be a very, very special kind of devotee. And so he keeps Mukunda Das very well employed. As Raghunandan grows up, Narahari takes special, very special care in trying to raise him and imparting the glories of Sri Krishna into Sri Raghunandan. And when he's about 10 or so, he goes through the Upanayanam ceremony. He receives his sacred thread, even as a boy, and he receives Brahminical mantras from his father and his uncle. And not long after that, Mukunda Das is called away on special business. So Raghunandan is charged with taking care of the family deity. It's a very small, sweet deity of Gopinath. And if any of you saw the Facebook post, which I'll have to make sure that I refer to again, in that post, there are two deities. There is Narahari Sarkar, and later on, Raghunandana Thakura's deity of Gaur Gopal. It's very sweet. And there's a small deity of Krishna, and that is Gopinath, the family deity of Mukunda Das and Narahari and Raghunandan. So this is the deity that Raghunandan is charged with worshipping in the absence of Mukunda. So Mukunda says, "I have some very important work to go on, so I won't be here to perform the worship of Gopinath." And he tells Raghunandan, he says, "You worship Gopinath. Make sure that all of the offerings go on as per usual. Make sure that our family deity eats very nicely, and he's taken care of with nice arti ceremonies. And when I come back, I'll make sure that I check up on everything to make sure that it's running smoothly." Raghunandan, with a very dedicated heart, takes up the service of the worship of little Gopinath. He asks his mother, he says, "Oh, mother, my father has asked me to make sure that all of the offerings go on without a hitch. So please arrange for the Rajbhog for our Gopinath deity." His mother cooks, her name is unknown, but she cooks. And she cooks a whole Rajbhog lunch preparation for the deity. And then Raghunandan brings in the offering, sets it in front of the deity, and he says, "Oh, Gopinath, my father has told me that I should make sure that all of the offerings go on as planned. So please eat." And nothing happens externally. Internally, of course, we know that as we offer things to the deity with our heartfelt prayers and intentions, the deity glances over it and gives his loving mercy and leaves the prasad for us, now infused with spiritual potency. But to 10-year-old Raghunandan, nothing happens. So he asks again, "My dear Gopinath, please, my father has entrusted me with the very big responsibility of making sure that the offerings go on as planned. So I'm begging you to please eat to your full satisfaction." And nothing happens. And so now Raghunandan is confused. Not only is he confused, but he begins to get afraid. He says, "If my father comes home and sees that nothing has happened with the offerings, he'll blame me. I'll be in very big trouble." So then Raghunandan begins to cry. "Gopinath, what will I do if you don't eat? You have to eat." And in some cases, it is said that Raghunandan brings a stick and he begins to threaten the deity. "Gopinath, you're putting my life in danger. My father's going to be very upset and he's going to chastise me. So now with this stick, I'll chastise you. So now you have to make sure that you eat. Please eat. I won't accept no for an answer. You must eat right now." Gopinath Deity says, "I already ate. I eat by looking." Raghunandan says, "I don't accept this at all. You have to eat everything." The deity of Gopinath says, "Okay, fine." And he begins to eat the offering. Raghunandan is standing, sometimes with his stick, sometimes with profuse tears, sometimes with both. He says, "Now make sure you eat everything. Don't leave anything. My father told me to make sure that you eat extremely well. My mother's prepared everything, so make sure you eat. Keep eating." Finally, the offering plate is empty. Raghunandan pays his obeisances, picks up the tray, takes it back to his mother. So, his mother says, "Where's the Mahaprasad?" Little Raghunandan says, "You didn't cook enough today. You made such a little amount that Gopinath ate everything. Here you go." His mother says, "This has never happened before. You must have eaten it. Or maybe you gave it to your friends. Maybe you ate it and gave it to your friends. But I don't believe what's happened to this Mahaprasad. Gopinath ate it. I was told to feed Gopinath, so then I did." Very confused, his mother puts the plate away and waits for Mukunda Das to return home. When Mukunda returns home, he inspects to make sure that everything has happened well. That the offerings happened, the artis happened. And his wife says, "Well, yes, but there's no Mahaprasad." His father questions, "How could there be no Mahaprasad? Every day the same thing happens." She says, "I gave the offering plate to Raghunandan. He says that he offered the plate to Gopinath, but he came back with nothing." So Mukunda Das asks, "Oh, Raghu, where's our Mahaprasad?" He says, "Gopinath ate everything. You entrusted me. You gave me the responsibility to make sure that our dear Gopinath eats, and that's what I did." Unbelieving of what the child has said, they request his mother to make one more offering of ladus. So she makes ladus and she gives Raghunandan one ladu to give to Gopinath. "Make an offering again." This time the parents are thinking, we'll watch closely and see what happens with this offering business to make sure that there's no strange things occurring. Raghunandan goes and he offers. "Oh, Gopinath, please accept this offering." Nothing happens. He says, "Gopinath, you have to accept this offering. If you don't, I'll be in trouble again. Please accept this offering." Nothing happens. Raghunandan begins to cry. "I'll get my stick again if you don't accept this offering." Gopinath says, "I'm full. I just ate." He says, "But you have to eat again. They asked me to make another offering." Gopinath says, "Fine." So he eats. But because the deity was already full, he only eats half of the laddu. And in many, many versions of this story, he eats half of the laddu and sees that Mukundadas and his wife are looking from nearby. And he refuses to eat the other half. Now Mukundadas and his wife are now dumbstruck. They see the deity now with half a laddu in his hand, and Raghunandan praying earnestly, and they have nothing else to do but to believe the words of their 10-year-old boy, that the deity must have eaten the entire Rajbhog offering. And even to this day, devotees will flock to Sri Khanda to see the home deities of Gorgopal and Gopinath, who is still offered half a laddu after his regular offering to commemorate this beautiful pastime of the faith of a 10-year-old boy. Because of such strong faith and determination, many miracles wind up happening throughout the life of Raghunandana Thakura. As he grows up, he attends the Rath Yatra festival in Puri with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And there are 7 parties well known throughout all of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. And of these 7 parties, the residents of Sri Khanda inhabit one very special party, where Raghunandana Thakura is one of the great dancers. So as he dances and brings joy to the heart of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu after this festival, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu meets with the family of Mukundadas. So he meets with all 3 special Khandavasis. And as he meets with them, he turns to Mukunda and he says, "Oh Mukunda, I have a doubt in my mind. Tell me something honestly. Are you the father of Raghunandan? Or is Raghunandan the father of you?" Mukunda Das says, "My lord, I can tell you honestly. I consider Raghunandan to be my very own father. It is only because of Raghunandan's faith and dedication that all of us have been placed on this spiritual path. It is only because of his devotion that we have devotion for Sri Krishna and for you. So in my estimation, Raghunandan is my father, my guru, my spiritual teacher, and everything." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu smiles, very heartily says, "Yes, that person who is able to impart devotion into the hearts of others is fit to be spiritual master, father, everything." And he happily embraces them. But it just goes to show the humility of these Vaishnavas. It also brings to mind, as a second generation hopeful Vaishnav, just how proud we want to make our parents. If we can do one thing to somehow make their hearts proud, that's pretty much all that we want. That's all that Raghunandan really wanted. When his father leaves and he says, "You take care of the deity," Raghunandan is thinking, okay, he's now so important. He's been given all of the responsibility of taking care of the family deity, which is a huge responsibility. And he just wants to make his father proud, doing something Krishna conscious. As he grows up, he just continues to want to make his father proud, doing something Krishna conscious. So this is the crowning glory. The other day, my mother called me and she said to me, "I think you've found your calling." She said, "Listening to you speak about Lord Nityananda, that's it. That's all I've wanted. I think you found it. And you made me so proud." And that day I thought, if I do nothing else, I'm okay. I feel okay now. That's all we really, really want, is to somehow make our spiritual masters, our parents, preceptors, teachers, those who've come before us, somehow proud. with our faith and determination. So I can only imagine Raghunandan's internal mood, even feeling undeserving of such praise in the presence of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, but also understanding that if I've done nothing else, this moment, this is everything. He's credited also with another miracle. There is a lake which becomes known as Madhu Pushkarini. One time, Lord Nityananda was calling out for Varuni. In his special mood of Balaram, he's calling out for this Varuni, this intoxicating honeyed wine. Nobody can get any Varuni anywhere. But Lord Nityananda is calling for it. What Lord Nityananda wants, Lord Nityananda gets. Raghunandana Thakura goes to this very special lake, and he brings water from this lake, and he gives it to Lord Nityananda, and instantly Lord Nityananda drinks it and is filled with the pleasure, the same kind of ecstasy that he would have gotten from drinking this Varuni. And it is said that near this Madhu Pushkarini, a kadamba tree grows, and two flowers are always blooming on this tree, irrespective of the season, whether they should be in bloom or not. And these flowers are always used for the worship of Gaur-Nitai. So these miracles are present in the life of Raghunandana Thakura based on his immense amount of faith. He's able to do such incredible service for Shri Gaur-Nitai. He is present in the festival at Kaituri, organized by Narottam Das Thakur, who we'll be speaking about on Friday. And he participates in the kirtans there. But just imagine being known as the great dancer in Mahaprabhu's kirtan, giving joy to all of the devotees during the time of Mahaprabhu and thereafter, being fully present in the first Gaura Purnima commemorative festival. How amazing. So, at that festival at Puri, after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asks, who really is the Father? Who has been imparting all the spiritual knowledge? And unanimously it is agreed that it is Raghunandan. With joyful heart, not seeing any kind of competition, which for Mukunda Das is so incredibly wonderful. Just willing to give all credit to his son, his junior. He doesn't mind. At this point, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu gives very special services to all three of these Kandavasi devotees. For Mukunda, he tells him, your service is to continue being a doctor, to be an ideal grihasta, and to earn incredible material and spiritual wealth. Do your job very well. To Narahari Sarkar, he tells him, you should stay with the devotees, associate with them. And indeed, Narahari Sarkar does, and he begins to be a great biographer of the lives of these devotees. And to Raghunandan, he gives to him deity service. You take care of the deities. So in this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was exemplifying that all three of these services, one is no better than the other. They may look different externally, but all three of them are able to give him the greatest joy. So we can see sometimes that one person is engaged in being a grihasta, making a family. One person may be engaged in serving the deity. There may be combinations of both. One person may be engaged in associating with the devotees and in preaching, but all three of these services can give equal amounts of pleasure to the heart of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. All of these services can perfect our lives. Each of these services are able to advance Krishna consciousness in the lives of the devotees, both those who are practicing and those who hear about these devotees forever after. How wonderful is our Mahaprabhu now that we can find Krishna consciousness and the perfection of our lives in whatever stage we find ourselves. We hear many times that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu met so many different devotees. Some grihastas would think, oh, Mahaprabhu, now that I've seen you, now that I've found you, I just want to follow you for the rest of my days. And in essence, in a much, much sweeter way, he would say, don't quit your day job. Stay at your job for now. Do your duty. Stay with your family. You don't need to follow me in order to find love of Krishna. Stay where you are and teach others about Krishna. Tell everyone you meet about Krishna. Take up this holy name of Krishna. Krishna is your mother, your father, the real treasure of your life. In this way, you can please me. We heard how Sri Mahaprabhu was willing to even give this Krishna prema to the animals, little puppies. He journeyed through Jharikanda and was able to give it to forest animals, birds, beasts, tigers, elephants, deer. So not only did it not matter which stage of life you found yourself in, whether you were brahmachari, grihasta, vanaprastha, sannyasi, or whether you found yourself learning or not learning, whether you found yourself with a job or not, it didn't even matter which life form you were in. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was ready and willing to give this Krishna prema to anyone, everyone, anywhere, at any time. And we hear through his travels through South India, he would simply have one conversation with one person, and that would change their life so profoundly that they would begin to preach to everyone that they met. They would immediately begin to preach about surrendering to Krishna, who Krishna was, and all of these beautiful, miraculous pastimes of Sri Krishna and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This breaking open of the storehouse of love, as our spiritual teachers and acharyas have said, was never before seen. Not quite like this. This faith where Raghunandana Thakura is inspiring the heart of Krishna to do different things that the deity form doesn't normally do. We hear about this many times within the pages of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Sri Nityananda Ram tells the story of Shakshi Gopal, the deity as the witness. We hear of the two Brahmins. The elder Brahmin promises his daughter to the younger Brahmin. The younger Brahmin, who is very poor, says, your family won't agree, you're too wealthy. They'll never accept me. I'm not like you. The Brahmin says, but I want to give you the thing that is the most valuable to me. You've given me such service. When he gets back home, the elder Brahmin encounters so much opposition from his family. They threaten to commit suicide and kill themselves and do all kinds of dramatic things. And this elder Brahmin is caught in a quandary. He's already promised, but the son says, when this other Brahmin comes, just say you don't remember. I'll handle the rest. So this is one of those first, I do not recall. We see that it's used by politicians from time immemorial. So the Brahmin has to now agree to say, I don't remember. And the Brahmin's son says, this young Brahmin gave my father an intoxicant. And now he has come to take all of our family wealth, take our sister and all these things. We should not adhere to whatever this young Brahmin is saying. The young Brahmin has to now go back to this Gopal deity where they first made the vow. He says, you were there, you remember. Now I call upon you as a witness. Gopal says, okay, go back and I'll appear within the hearts of the villagers. Absolutely not. Unless you personally come, no one will believe me. No more of this in the heart business. Gopal says, I've never really heard of a deity walking before. He says, well, you're talking to me. So if you can talk, you can walk. Let's go. This incredible faith inspires this Gopal deity to walk all the way to Vidyanagar. They reach the town. They arrive in that place. Finally, all of the villagers come and they have to accept the words of Sri Gopal. So through the pages of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, we've heard how this incredible amount of faith can inspire the Lord of the heart to do things that he would not normally do. This incredible faith of Advaita Acarya inspires within the heart of the Lord something that he wouldn't normally do, to come and give this love of God freely. Everywhere, everyone. We've heard how the Lord has passed through bars and has said, these people, they've appreciated just once the holy name of Sri Krishna. Let's give them love of God completely. Srivas Thakur was a little bit baffled and astonished. My Lord, absolutely, no problem. Maybe just give it to them through your glance. Don't go into the bar. We've worked so hard to get people to stop offending you and forfeiting their lives. And Mahaprabhu glances over them and gives them love of God quicker than other Brahmins of the time. We heard how illiterate Brahmins were receiving full love of God through reading of Bhagavad Gita. Reading in quotes because he was illiterate. But he was gaining all of the full knowledge of this Bhagavad Gita just through the medium of the heart. This poor Brahmin, not so poor, because he had the real treasure, says to Mahaprabhu that when I read this Bhagavad Gita, when I look at the writing on the pages, all I can do is think of Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna, personally instructing him. All I can do is think of this with love. All I can do is think of the incredible friendship of Sri Krishna, ready and willing to do anything and everything for his devotees. Mahaprabhu was in complete ecstasy. Imagine being able to inspire ecstasy within the very heart of the Supreme Being. Imagine being able to say something that can inspire the heart of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to become so filled with love for Krishna that, yes, you are really receiving all of the messages of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Over and above all of these other Brahmins who are present. This is the beauty of the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord is inspired at every turn to do something that he doesn't normally do. Whether it's to perform humorous pastimes, whether it's to perform unique pastimes, whether it's to give a grave lesson, whether it's to give unparalleled mercy. During the Mahaprakash Lila, because of all of the love of the devotees, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is inspired to do something that even he doesn't normally do. Usually, if anyone approached him and says, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, my Lord," cover his ears and say, "Vishnu, Vishnu, I'm just a servant of my Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna." just trying to follow after him. Of course, we know his famous Shikshastakam prayers. I know no one but Govinda as my Lord. He shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So this was the mood of our Mahaprabhu. But during this Mahaprakash Leela, during these several hours, he is inspired to reciprocate with all of the devotees' love. And he is finally inspired to say, just for one day, okay, I admit, I'm God. And he begins to reveal to so many of the devotees present how he had saved them, how he had spread his mercy among them, how he had given each of them love of God. And all of them think themselves unworthy, which is actually hopeful for all of us. All of these devotees think themselves, I'm not worthy of this mercy. It's completely causeless. I don't know what I could have done to have received the immense mercy of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Which means that all of those disqualifications make them completely qualified. And Mahaprabhu thinks, I'll give more mercy. This is our great hope, especially on Ekadashi, especially on these days where we hope to just somehow do some small amount of austerity to come closer to Sri Krishna, to come closer to the heart of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who instructed his own mother, even when he was a child. One day, she tried to give him grains. He was completely upset. But mother, it's Ekadashi. We are Brahmins. What are you doing? We are Vaishnavas. I'm sorry. If you care for me at all, if you value my life at all, you'll never, ever give me grains on Ekadashi. So sometimes we see in our temples that Mahaprabhu's portion has no grains. Radhakrishna's portion can have grains. They are above all the rules. But Mahaprabhu, he becomes very intense about Ekadashi. So on these days where we can pray for his very special mercy, where we can invoke the mercy of all of the Vaishnavacharyas, Vaishnavas like Raghunandan, who are eager, ready, and willing to give all of their mercy till the end of time, inspiring devotion within our hearts, inspiring devotion within the hearts of countless devotees who just once hear their glories, hear of their examples of faith and determination, while we seek to perform some minuscule amount of austerity, sometimes still grumbling within our minds. But luckily, the Lord doesn't listen to any of that. How fortunate are we to be in Kali Yuga, which is not normally what we hear, right? Normally, we hear about the glory of bygone yugas. But how fortunate are we to be in Kali Yuga, where we are excused what goes on within the mind? Because there's so much going on in the mind. We are excused. So what's being calculated now is what we do outwardly. And Krishna is willing to overlook all of the grumblings that will happen internally. I have always thought of our tiny little Ekadashi fasts, mine especially. And I think, Srila Prabhupada made it so easy. Just don't eat grains and beans. If you need to eat, eat, no problem. Do some devotional service. Be happy. Love Krishna. That's it. You'll get all the benefits of the Ekadashi fasts that were so strictly observed in times before. And I think about how difficult that can be. Oh, so difficult. What do we make? What do we cook? Let's come up with new ways. What if we make grain-free tortilla chips? And then what if we come up with, we can mix about 37 different flours, right? Made from all kinds of seeds and things. And then we'll be able to make one Ekadashi puri. And then I think, with that kind of determination and dedication, if I just put my mind to fasting, I'd probably be able to do this better. Because it takes such an amount of dedication for me to think up all of the ways to circumvent grains and beans. I usually spend the other, the rest of the 2 weeks just kind of planning it out. Now, what can I make as a menu? If I could figure out how to make the perfect Ekadashi cake that doesn't taste like an Ekadashi cake, then I will have done something. And sometimes I think, if I could just put that determination into chanting my japa happily, then I will have probably done something. If I could be so wrapped up in reading and writing and somehow living the glories of all of these Vaishnavacharyas, then I will have done something. But until that time, I will continue to figure out new and unique ways to get around the loopholes of all of the Ekadashi fasts. But because we have Krishna on our side, because we have Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, we also have a special dispensation even there. Because with all the machinations of the mind and the ways we get around this Ekadashi fast, I still have the ability to say, but it's not for me. I just want to do this to make a nice offering for Krishna. You see? It's not really for me. Really, I just want to give joy to the heart of Sri Krishna and to the other devotees. And then we just get to enjoy the Mahaprasad, just a little. After we, with full hearts of dedication, follow the footsteps of Raghunandana Thakura and ask our deities to eat very nicely. Now the question is, are we willing to make that offering and ask him to eat everything, leaving nothing for us? Do we have that kind of dedication? Or are we still thinking, listen, you eat one half of the sweet. Just leave the other half because you'll be full. Okay? Just leave a little bit for the rest of us. In any case, in any situation that we find ourselves, this is the glory of the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the glory of our Krishna, who says, whatever you eat, whatever you do that as a service. Do that with your mind fixed on me. I'll accept it. How sweet is our Lord. How kind is our supreme best friend. Always willing to say, I'll eat half and leave you the other half. No matter how many loopholes you try to get around, I'll be right there with you, cheering you on, willing to spiritually infuse the rest of it so that you always have Mahaprasad. This is our Supreme Lord. This is our Gora Chandra. This is our Sri Krishna Chandra. This is our Govinda, forever ready and willing to give pleasure to the senses. We don't deserve it. And that's precisely why he'll give his mercy. There's no deserving it. That's the meaning of the word causeless. My Guru Maharaj would always say, we don't deserve it. Not even in the slightest. That's why it's causeless. This is why we have Ekadashi days. Do we deserve them? No. Do we even have the same amount of dedication that the demons had? Also no. But will the Lord be our friend anyway? Absolutely. It is with my mind fixed on that friendship and that mercy. That's the mindset with which I want to chant. That's the mindset with which I want to remember our Vaishnava Acaryas, like Raghunandana Thakura, like Mukunda Das, like Narahari Sarkar, all engaged in different services, but all equally as dear to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all giving pleasure to the heart of Sri Krishna, all perfecting their lives, and giving us several examples by which we can perfect ours. It is with a heart full of the most gratitude that I offer my respects. I offer my absolute gratitude. I offer all of my heartfelt prayers to all of you. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you. If there is any way that I have said something that you might remember, or that has brought joy to your heart, or that has benefited you in some way, or that you think needs even correcting, just send me your prayers. And if I've done anything good, just in your mind, in your heart, do me a big favor. And within your heart of hearts, tell Krishna, tell her parents and her Guru Maharaj that she did a good job. I feel like it's always like a supreme like parent-teacher conference. So if there's been anything that has given joy to your heart, say a prayer. Tell Krishna, tell my Guru Maharaj and my parents that I did a good job this day. That's all I can ask for. Otherwise, your prayers mean everything. They are our life and soul. And so now we're like eagerly awaiting. I feel like every moment I'm watching the screen with Sri Radha Murlidhar and Sri Gaura Chandra. I feel like I'm just waiting for that moment. I'm like, I know they're going to open. And we spoke so much about deities doing such miraculous things that now just seeing them feels like a miracle. I feel like any moment now. They're keeping us. Here we go. Shri Radha Murlidhar ki jai. Shri Gaura Chandra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. We're waiting. They're coming. Any second.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I know, I feel like Jai Shri Radha Murlidhara ki. Thank you so much to all of my friends.